welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. This is my little platform where I turn struggling math students into maths masters. So I plan on posting regularly, so subscribe and turn on the notification button if you want to know when I post any new videos. So before I start with this video, let me just give you a heads up on what's happening and what I have on offer for you guys at the moment. So this Saturday, I'm going to be hosting a paper 1 prelim exam workshop. And essentially, I'm going to be working through all of paper 1 type exam questions and really take you through how you need to approach the questions, take you through strategies and how you need to answer the questions, and really just make you feel more confident about approaching paper 1. And then the following Saturday, I will be doing the exact same thing for paper 2. So if you are interested in joining those workshops, you can email me to mathsmonkeyhelp@gmail.com, and in the description, just write revision classes 2025 or whatever year you are watching this in. All right, so in this video, I'm going to be taking you through painting calculations and show you how painting and surface area really work together. So without further ado, let's jump into this video. So let's jump into our lesson on painting. Okay, so as you know, I always like to start with making sure that we all have the same baseline understanding. Right, so the first thing you need to understand to be able to excel and know what to do in this topic is you need to understand that the surface area that you plan on painting and how big that is always determines how much paint you actually need. So obviously, the bigger the surface, the more paint you will need. So the surface area that you actually plan on painting is important when finding out how much paint you need. Then paint cans. So when you go to the shop and you buy the paint cans, they usually display the area per liter. So in other words, how much paint can 1 liter, how much area can 1 liter actually paint? Right, so that's the second thing I want you to note. And then the third thing is one usually paints a surface with more than one coat. So often in the questions, they will require you to either have multiple coats, and usually in real life as well, if you want to paint a surface, you will generally need more than one coat. This just brings out the color more, and this just makes sure that the paint lasts longer. Okay, so that is sort of just the baseline, what we need to understand. So what I've done is I've taken 2 questions from past papers, and we are going to be looking at those papers now. And ultimately, I've literally just taken out the specific questions on painting, and you can see that a lot of the times these actually count a lot of marks. So it would be nice for you to be confident about these types of questions. All right, so let's look at this example. It says a picture of a completed birdhouse is given. So if you can see there we have the birdhouse, and then it says Itumeleng paints the exposed exterior surface area of the birdhouse. The total surface area of the birdhouse that will be painted is 0.2888 meters squared. So automatically I'm paying attention to what is the unit that's given to me. So this is meters squared, right? Then it says he applies 3 coats of paint according to the spread rate instructions on the paint tin as follows. So for the first coat, the paint covers 10 meters squared per liter, and then in the coats after that, 14 meters squared per liter. Okay, so you'll see the first coat, there's actually more paint that's needed, right? So when it says 10 meters squared, it just means that 1 liter, a lot more of the 1 liter is used for, is 1 liter will only cover 10 meters squared. Where if I had the second coat, then that 1 liter can actually go further and paint 14 meters squared, right? Then it says Itumeleng stated that he will be able to paint 7 birdhouses with 500 milliliters of paint. Verify, showing all calculations whether his statement is correct. So what we need to do is we need to calculate how much paint does he actually need if he's going to paint 3 coats on 7 birdhouses, and if 500 mils of paint will be enough. So that's ultimately what we are being asked. So let's approach this question. So let me just get my pen out. Number 1. Right. So the first thing I want you to take note is we now know that the area that we're going to be covering is 0.2888 meters squared. So if I think of the first coat, right, we have 10 meters squared for 1 liter, right? And we want to cover 0.2888 meters squared. This is for the first coat, right? So I will do the LVN method, which says divide first and then multiply. And obviously, if you don't know the LVN method, you can go to my conversions video and have a look at that. So I've got 1 divided by 10 multiplied by 0.28888. And I will end up with an answer. Let me put it in a different color for you. I will end up with an answer of 0.02888. This is liters, right? So this is how much we need for the very first coat, right? Then we are doing 2 subsequent coats, okay? Because in total we're doing 3 coats. So do you understand that firstly for the second, for the 2 coats, for the last 2 coats, I need to double the surface area, right? Because that surface area is being, so we've painted the 1, which is based on 10 meters squared per liter, but then there's 3 coats. So I've done the 1, but then I still have 2 more, right? Of which will be covered on 14 meters squared. So this is how I'm going to write this down. So first I'm going to say, okay, the 0.288 multiplied by 2, because this is now the surface area that we are using, but we are doing it twice. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to multiply it by 2. And so this will give me a total surface area of 0.5776 meters squared, right? And now that I have the surface area that will be painted on the second spread rate, which is the 14 meters squared, is 1 liter, and I now need 0.5776 meters squared, because that's how much I'm going to be painting with the second rate, right? With the second, because like I mentioned, this is the first coat, and now I'm calculating coat 2 and coat 3, and I doubled the surface area because coat 2 and coat 3 is going to be covering the same surface, so I take that surface area and I multiply it by 2. Right, then again I go anti-clockwise, divide first, and then multiply. And then again, I can change the color now. And I say 1 divided by 14 multiplied by 0.5776. And this will now give me an answer of 0.041257 liters. Right? So this is now the total for coat 2 and coat 3. So now that we know what the total liters is for 1, right? Because this is 1 birdhouse that will get 3 coats. So if he states that he can paint 7 birdhouses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these values together. So I'm going to go 0.02888, and I'm going to add the liters I need for the subsequent coats. Right? And this will give me the total of 1 birdhouse. So this gives me 0.07013714. You'll see I use majority of the decimals because I only want to round off my final answer. But that is now for 1. So now I can take that answer, right, and multiply it by 7, because this is how much he states would be able to be painted, right? So in this answer, it is 0.49096 liters. Is this liters? Yes, this is liters. Okay, sorry. All right, so now they say that he mentions that you can use 500 milliliters. So if I say 500, this is in liters now. If I take this and I convert this one now, so I'll say, let me just do it this way. Let me just erase this, get my pen back. And it says, okay, if this is now liters, right, I'm going to say, okay, 0.49096, that's liters, multiplied by 1000, right, because I want to convert this now to milliliters. And so this will end up with 490.96 milliliters. So if we look at what Itumeleng said, is that he can paint 7 birdhouses with 500 mils. Do you see that if we painted with our 3 coats and all 7, we will need 490.96 milliliters. So 500 milliliters, does he say, we'll be able to, so yes, so his statement is valid. 500 milliliters will be enough. Okay, so let me just break down this calculation again. We painted the birdhouse with 1 coat at 10 meters squared per liter, right? So then we got 0.0288 liters. That's how much paint we needed to paint the birdhouse on the first coat. Then the second and third coats, we took the surface area multiplied by 2 because we're going to paint it twice. And then we found out with that surface area how much paint we'll need. And that's how we got to the 0.041257. Then we added these 2 orange values together because that is the total that we need for one bird cage. Right? Birdhouse, sorry. And then we take that value now that we need for 1 and multiply it by 7 to see if 500 mils will actually be enough. But that answer is in liters. So we would take that answer multiplied by 1000 to get it in milliliters to be able to assess, is 500 milliliters going to be enough? And we found out that we get 490.96, so 500 milliliters is going to be enough. Okay, so the LVN method, if you're not aware of what that is, have a look at my conversion question or have a look at my short video that I have on my Instagram and on my TikTok accounts as well. And you'll be able to see what the LVN method is and how you can apply it. Okay, so that's our first question on paint and surface area. Now let's do another one. So in this question now, we have a netball court. And I'm going to just make my face smaller here so that you can see the dimensions. But here we've got a netball court and we have 2 questions. So what I want you to notice here is that these questions really count a lot of marks. So it would be, it really is worth making sure that you understand this. Okay, so let's read this one now. So here we've got a netball court and it says here in a school there are 2 netball courts, each with a surface area of 465 and 14 meters squared, which needs to be painted using water-resistant non-slip paint. 2 coats of paint is needed, and 1 liter of paint covers 8 meters squared. Calculate how many tins of paint will be needed if paint is sold in 20-liter tins. Okay. One netball court has got a surface area of 465.14, and because we are painting 2, I'm going to take that and I'm going to multiply it by 2. So we've got 2 netball courts that we're painting, and so the surface area then of the 2 netball courts is 930.28 meters squared. However, if you notice, it says that this will be painted twice, so there's 2 coats. So this surface area of the courts are going to be painted twice. So I'm going to take this and multiply it by 2 again, right? Because we are painting double the surface area now. So why did I multiply the first one by 2? That was because I had 2 coats, and then the second 2 is because I have 2 coats. And this gives me meters squared. Fine. now that we know what is the area we're going to be painting in total, now we can go to doing the calculations. So it says here that 1 liter covers 8 meters squared, right? So these conversions will always be given to you in a test situation, right? So you don't have to study what the conversions are. And you'll see for every question, depending on the paint, depending on what the paint is, will be different. So just make sure that you know how to apply them, right? So then we have 8 meters squared. So then I go 1860.56 meters squared. And now I go anti-clockwise, divide first, and then multiply. And then I will do like I did in the previous question, where I'll change the color. I say that divided by 8 multiplied by 1. And we end up with 232.57 liters, right? So that's how much liters we need. But now it says calculate how many tins of paint will be needed if paint is sold in 20 liter tins. So in other words, how many 20 liter tins do I need to buy in order to get a total of 232.57? So the way you would do this now is you're going to say, okay, how many 20 liter tins do I actually have in this? So I'm going to say 232.57, and I'm going to divide that now by 20. Right? And my answer is 11.6285. Right? Now, when you're dealing with paint, guys, always round up. Right? So this year, we're going to need 12 tins. Right? Because the question asks how many tins. We're going to need 12 tins. Because if you should round with painting, if you should round down, and it's based off of you going to go buy paint, if you round down, then you're not going to have enough paint. Okay, so with paint, even if the decimal is 11.2, and normally when the 2 is there, it tells you that you should round to 11. But if you round to the 11, in the context of the question, we're not going to have enough paint. So that's why you have to make sure that you round it up. All right, so that gives me 12 tins. And now I can move over to the second question. Okay, so the second question says, paint costs 1,500 Rand per 20 liter tin, VAT included. Labor for painting is 150 Rand per hour and part of it. The painter finishes the job in 23.5 hours. The sports master of the school claims that 15,000 Rand will be enough to cover all the painting costs. Verify with calculations whether his claim is valid. Okay, so lots of things happening here. So firstly, we need to figure out what is the cost of the paint. Then we have to figure out what is the cost of the labor. And then we have to see if 15,000 Rand will be enough for that. So for the first section, that's fine because we figured out already how many tins we need. And if it's 1,500 Rand per tin, we can just say 1,500 multiplied by 12, right? And this will give us the cost for the paint, which is 180,000 Rand. Right? Then for the labor, it says 150 Rand per hour and part of it. So what part of it means is that even if it's just a half an hour, the last bit, you still get charged for entire hour. So even though we've got 23.5 hours that he's working, he's actually going to charge you for 24 hours. So he's going to go 24 multiplied by 150 Rand, which is the labor. So we've got 24 times 150. And I end up with 3,600. Okay. And now, right? So we're going to say, okay, 18,000 plus 3,600 equals 21,600. So claim that 15,000 will be enough to cover all the costs. Verify with calculations whether his claim is valid. So his claim is invalid. And that is your calculation for the second one. All right. And that is your section on surface area and painting. Alright, so there's that video. Hopefully you feel confident about answering painting questions now and that you know what methods you need to use when calculating this. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, you can add that in the comment section below. And remember, if you're interested in the prelim exam workshops, you can email me to mathsmonkeyhelp@gmail.com, and in the description, just write down revision 2025 or whatever year you're watching this in. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.